Hello and welcome to this episode of The Paramotor Mechanic. That's what we're going to title this video. I'm not actually a paramotor mechanic, but anybody that flies paramotor either becomes a paramotor mechanic or instantly finds themselves one within, I'd say, the first 5 months of owning the paramotor. If you're doing better than that, then congratulations to you. You've made a good decision, or you got extremely lucky. One of the two, or both. So that being said, I wanted to discuss a topic that I have been discussing with some people on the internet over the past couple days, and this is about the reliability of the Tornado 280. Now, a gentleman discussed with me possibly getting one for himself, and he kind of asked my suggestion or opinion on the matter, and I disclosed what I would consider as pretty sound advice, that if it's going to be your only paramotor, get it only if you are okay with working on it fairly often, most likely, and are okay with having to wait for parts to come to you, be it new pistons or jugs or whatever, because things happen on that paramotor. Now, I will say, I absolutely adore that paramotor, and it is the one that I fly the most. I have it right over there. I will show you in just a minute, but behind me, I have all the many failings of that paramotor, which I'll get into in just a second here. But that being said, so this gentleman and I, we were kind of discussing the motor and what it was best meant for. I would say if you are a fairly new person and you are a little bit heavier and you're concerned with having to run for too long, the more throttle that you have on your back, the more thrust, the faster you can get into the air, because you're able to get yourself into a more of an inclined power of attack, we'll call it, to gain elevation more rapidly. Now, you can do most of these things with just a larger wing. However, if you're a bigger guy and you've got a small little motor like a Top 80 or an Atom 80 on your back, you're going to be running farther. That's just how it goes. I mean, I've flown the Atom 80. I'm 175 pounds, so I'm not like a heavy man, really. But it took a long time. Mind you, I was flying it on a 22-meter glider. I've also flown it on a 20-meter glider, and those are smaller wings, so yeah, obviously I could go for a bigger wing. But that being said, if I throw like a Nitro 200, Tornado 280, Moster 185, any of those motors on my back, flying the same wing, I have to run for less distance, because once I get into that attack climb mode, I start going a lot faster up into the air. Now, with that extra power, obviously there comes some things like heat and the dissipation of that, which can build up in the engine, some different complications that can come along with that whole situation. However, the way that I see it, so if you're flying a small motor and you're having to gun it constantly because it just doesn't produce enough thrust until you're in the very uppermost RPM range where it's just maxed out. So if you're flying a smaller motor like that to be able to handle, or to be able to get the climb that you're looking for. Now, if you can throw on a more powerful motor and be able to use less RPMs, less of the potential of the motor, then therefore you should be able to baby the motor in sense, which should be better on a machine, be it if it was the small motor or the big motor. You know, I would say running the small motor at super high RPMs is worse on it than running the big motor at lower RPMs. I mean, liken it to anything that has more power. If you have a car that's just like, say you're rocking your Prius, you know, and you're just having to peg it constantly, where the buddy next to you is in his Ferrari, he's probably barely having to touch the throttle to keep up. Now, what car is being put under a heavier load? Mind you, obviously, in the realm of paramotors, we're not really talking Ferraris and Priuses, but we are kind of almost in a way. So I would say an Atom 80 is very much a Prius. It's so economical, and it's just beautiful, just a joy of a thing to drive. It's so smooth and wonderful, and I don't know if that's how Prius goes, but I like to think so, because that would be cool. So on the other hand of the spectrum, you've got the Tornado 280. I know there's more powerful motors than that, just not ones that I have flown. So from my knowledge base, we're going with Tornado 280, because that's what a lot of people are talking about. So I would say the Tornado 280 is kind of like a Ferrari. It's going to be in the shop a decent amount, you know? It's going to be amazing when it's working. It's going to be fantastic, and you're going to be so in love with it, and you're going to be like, this is amazing, and then it'll break, you know what I mean? So you're going to have to go fix it then at that point. So I still love the Tornado 280, and it is my go-to choice of motor to pick. It would always be between that and the Moster 185. I've also got a Nitro 200, but that one just doesn't have quite as much power. I still love that motor. They're all great motors, really, in my opinion. But so the Tornado 280, it's just got the most power of the motors that I have, and it's so light. That's the other thing. So I've got a buddy that flies a Thor 202, and that is an amazingly smooth. I would say that's about the power range of the Tornado 280, maybe even a touch more. It's real close. Close enough that it makes no difference, especially for a guy my size. And then, but I would say that's about the smoothness of like a Moser 185 or an Atom AD. Maybe not quite as smooth as an Atom AD just because the size of the pistons and stuff. It's a big difference. Now, the problem with the Thor 202 is it's liquid cooled and it's inherently quite a lot heavier. I'd say you're gaining an extra 15 pounds easily over the weight of a Tornado 280. So that is my take on the Tornado 280. It is not, I wouldn't consider it a reliable engine. I've had numerous engine outs. I don't know, I've posted a few videos and I've had multiple engine outs that weren't posted on videos. I would say probably in total 7 times, 3 of which resulted in a complete engine rebuild at least 3 times, maybe 4. It's hard to say. So there were some growing pains, and I had some of the earlier models of the Tornado 280. I've owned 2. I guess I've owned 2 of them. But yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and show you all the things that I've had to replace and walk you through the things that I've done. But I don't want to completely discourage anybody from buying one. Like I said, it's like getting into a sports car. Don't think that you're going to just buy a sports car and it's going to be your next Volvo that just drives perfectly forever and ever and ever, you know, and you just putz along whenever you want. It's not that machine. But it is a fun machine. So it is that sports car that you have to kind of keep an eye on. You know, if you're into tinkering and stuff, it'd be a fine motor for you. So that is all I wanted to say about that. Here's the parts breakdown. This is what I've done. As a little side note, so just so you guys don't think it's just me with the Tornado 280 having issues, because I would understand that if that's what you thought, but my buddy Bart has one that we've rebuilt 3 or 4 times. My buddy Drew has had 2 Tornadoes that we have rebuilt probably 3 or 4 or 5 times, something like that. So it's not just me and my flying style. It's pretty much been par for the course for everyone that I know that has owned the machine. So don't think that this is just my experience. This is me getting information from people that, like myself, that have had the same situations happen to them. All right, so getting right into this. This is what we have here, the mini parts of broken machines. So this is not actually all the parts, but this is quite a fair few of them. So we'll just start from the left and work our way to the right. We've got ourselves a burned up piston, a broken topped piston, another burned up piston, and 1 broken piston. Not sure what happened there. We've got ourselves a burned up jug, another burned up jug, and I believe that's another burned up jug. Yeah, it's got some pretty bad stuff going on down in there, so that's a burned up jug. That's a propeller in the background, that's just fine. This is a broken exhaust, that is no longer useful. There is another broken exhaust right below it. We've got ourselves a real wild one. This is a broken crank. That one I can explain in just a minute here. I mean, some fried belts, that's nothing crazy. And this pulley thing, don't know if that actually needed replaced. My bearings felt like crap. I think they were just overly compressed, to be honest with you, when the motor was assembled. That is a broken chunk of an exhaust. It's got a hole in it. You'll just have to take my word. That is what caused the broken shaft. So I'm pretty certain that this coil and it slid into the magneto that spins on this shaft, causing it to stop really quickly, which is why that sheared off. It's just a hunch, but that seems like what happened based on all that. I think that's a perfectly fine, yeah, that's a perfectly fine head. And I do have a replacement cylinder right there because I know how these motors work. That is all the motor parts that I have here. Oh yes, I have a broken magnesium frame. You can see where I made some fancy little, well, my cousin made. I shouldn't take the credit because I did not. we made some fancy little bits there, but ultimately it started failing at these points. That is a magnesium nitro frame right there. Oh yes, and I almost forgot one clutch bell housing that is destroyed. I still absolutely love this machine. It is just sitting here waiting to be flown. All is well with it at the moment. It is a beautiful machine. I hope I don't jinx myself. I'm going to knock on some wood, actually. Just because this is the type of machine you want to do that with. So I'm still flying the XC head. I like that a lot better. It seems to smooth out that mid-range. I mean, overall, I can't complain. I think it's fantastic. I like the frame. I love the weight of it. I like it a lot. It's just not as reliable as I wish it was, obviously. But that being said, as you can see here, we've got ourselves a Thor 202 that I'm working on. This is my buddy Drew Wyards. So we had some engine issues. This one's clutch driven, and his clutch had seized up. I'm pretty sure that our water pump, which is driven off of this, had a piece of the impeller brake off and caused this to kind of seize on this side, and actually broke a chunk off of the it broke the keyway piece. That broke off, and I'm pretty sure that chunk went into the clutch and jammed up the clutch, because that's the only thing that would make sense. So it was doing weird stuff, and it was causing the propeller to actually loosen up, because when you let off throttle, it would basically backspin, because this has a knockoff style propeller where you can take the whole thing off with one bolt. Yeah, you can see it right there. So weird things happen. It doesn't matter necessarily what motor you use, and this was I think it was a new Thor 202 motor, and this is not very old at all either. So that's what I'm saying, guys. Don't think that you're going to get any of these motors and they're just going to be fantastic, ready to go. That's probably not the case. I would say Moster 185 is probably the most reliable that I've had experience with so far. The Atomady's been pretty good as well, but it's for smaller motor people, or people that just don't care about power. If you're wanting to just go to like 100 feet and fly around at that level, it'd be fine for you. Just get a bigger wing if you're a bigger guy, and don't be afraid to run. But yeah, just a little bit of information for you there, so I hope you guys liked it. Peace out. Whoop!